This is Sound and Vision from KEXP. I'm Emily Fox. Mia Dyson is an Australia-raised, LA-based musician who's an award winner of the Australian version of a Grammy. It's called the ARIA Award. She's opened up for Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mack and Bonnie Raitt. And she's just released her 8th album. It's called Tender Heart.
Hold my hands over my head.
Mia Dyson started writing this album shortly before an earthquake hit her home. And right after that earthquake happened, Mia Dyson experienced an undiagnosed heart arrhythmia, which caused her heart to stop beating. And she almost died. I caught up with Dyson to hear more about the themes that show up on this record. But first, she talked about what she can remember from her near-death experience.
Well, I remember the earthquake. It woke me up from being fast asleep, and not being a Los Angeles native, I found the earthquake quite exciting. Mm-hmm. My husband, who hadn't gone to bed, was in the other room, and I called out to him. And then that's when this heart arrhythmia happened. I stopped breathing and my heart stopped. And he found me slumped on the bed and wooden eyes and not breathing. And it took him, a little while to figure out what was going on. I mean, he didn't know what was going on, but to realize he had to try and bring me back to life. And he was calling the ambulance and giving me mouth to mouth. And then I remember as I started breathing again, coming back into my body. And I was actually in a very peaceful place when I first, I think, had some consciousness. It was dark and peaceful, and I was very far away. I could hear his voice. He'd realized that I'd started breathing again, and he was just saying to me over and over again, "Thank you for coming back to me." And I could hear him very distantly, and he sounded very calm. But he was also on the phone to the paramedics. And, as I came back into my body, it got scarier and scarier because things felt wrong. Like I felt like 1,000 pounds pinned to the bed. I couldn't see, I couldn't move. And obviously my body had been through oxygen deprivation and all of that. And so probably I was feeling those effects, but I didn't know what had happened. And I was in shock when I came to properly. And then, 5 giant firemen arrived at our place to take me to hospital because the fire department got there first, and the paramedic fire department, and they were wonderful. And it was during COVID, so it was just terrifying because it was early on, and I had to go to the hospital by myself. My husband couldn't come; he couldn't visit me, and they discovered that I have this heart arrhythmia called long QT syndrome. And the treatment is to implant a defibrillator cardiac device into the chest and wires into the heart, so that if this happens again, which it can happen because of sudden loud noises, which was the earthquake causing the arrhythmia to be revealed. I could have gone years without it happening, or it never happened at all. But, and a lot of people die the first time these things happen because there's no way to know you have it until something like this happens. But that intersected the writing of the record and was, pretty life-changing.
Wow. I mean, did this whole experience make you view life and death differently?
It really did. I mean, miraculously, it actually has lessened my fear of death. I think, the post experience was a really wonderful time. I had to recover physically from having this 2 operations to get this thing inside my chest and get it all working and everything. But it was this incredible experience for both me and my husband together. I think we had this, we'd been together for 10 years at that point, and it became this sort of renewed bonding of our relationship, and certainly for me a sense of just how fragile life is and how precious, and gave me just this immense gratitude for my life and for having a second life, a second chance. But also about 6 months later too, I'd never had panic attacks, and I started having those, and I think that was a sort of delayed reaction to the experience, and that really brought me into the present. I really had to take care of myself, and really gave me a perspective on people having those kinds of experiences of panic and high anxiety. And I luckily have gotten past that, and I've delved really deep into meditation, and it's been a really important part of my recovery. But I'm just very, very grateful to be alive and And I find the ever-present awareness of death's possibility actually very enlivening. It helps me to be just appreciative of here I am right now. I'm alive. This is such a rare, I mean, the chances of the universe happening and then life forming on Earth. Like, I think about all that stuff all the time, and the fact that I'm here is just like the most unlikely thing in the universe. And so here I am.
Wow. You know, I was listening to your album and your opening track, the song Dare. I was thinking to myself, like, oh, wow, she must have written this right after that experience, you know, of the heart arrhythmia. And then I understand that you wrote it before, but gosh, it just seems like it was written exactly about that experience.
Heard you call me here from empty space, holding me to feel the thing in my chest.
I know, it's so freaky. Yeah, that song was written a few months before the event. And, you know, I've had this happen before with songs, but never so strikingly obvious, where I'll write a song, it's not got a literal meaning. There's just something really, you know, I really love the lyrics for some reason. They speak to me in some way that you know, maybe it's just the way they sound or the mood that they create. But then a couple of years later, or, you know, 6 months later, like suddenly they make sense in a literal way. Like something happens that reveals their meaning to me, which I find very strange and fascinating. And one of the beautiful things about music, and I think the arts in general and creativity, is that perhaps it can tap into things that we are unaware of, subconscious things, or perhaps a mysterious sort of collective consciousness. I have no idea, but in this case, it was kind of spooky how direct this seems to point to what was about to happen, which is this earthquake and facing death sort of waiting inside me. I mean, I know it waits inside everybody, but this just felt like very poignant. So that's just a fascinating mystery to me about songwriting.
The ground beneath my feet has always been shaking. The blood under my skin has always been racing. The center of my body has always been aching. And the death inside of me has always been waiting.
How much of this album was written after that experience of the earthquake and then your heart stopping?
Yeah, about half the record was written after. So songs like Thank You, Dragging Me Down, Golden Light. Thank You in particular is a song that just springs directly from that experience, because after I'd had the near-death experience, I was just needing to explore conversations and writings about death and understand other people's perspectives on it. And I came across this wonderful writings of a palliative care doctor called ARIA, who talks about, you know, the 4 simple things to say before death. As obviously he has a lot of experience with people at the end of their lives and their families. And
what are those 4 simple things, by the way?
Oh, well, I mean, they vary. Like, there's different cultures that have different ceremonies that you know, speak to things. But the words that I choose, and in this order, were thank you, I love you, forgive me, I forgive you.
Thank you, I love you, forgive me, I forgive you.
Yeah, it's a pretty meaningful song for me. It's sort of become somewhat of the heart, the tender heart of the record.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the song Dragging Me Down was written after this earthquake and near-death experience. And I understand this song is about your struggles with depression. What was going through your mind when you wrote this track?
Tender heart, today you was talking, taking the lead. Will I be walking?
This paradox that it's so difficult to pull oneself out. You know, it's like we have 2 selves. There's the depressed self, and then there's the self that can observe the depression, but it's so strange to sort of be able to see it and yet not be able to just will one's self out of it. And thankfully, over the years, I've learned ways to deal with it, and it doesn't last as long. And meditation has been a huge help with that. But I was just really contemplating the how can I trust myself when it's me who seems to be the one who's causing this depression? Because I mean, certainly it's never worked to really blame outside forces. I mean, I can, but it doesn't help me deal with it. And so it's this mysterious paradox. And yet, as we've all heard, it's like having to go through rather than around seems to be the key, like feeling the experience and not trying to avoid the experience seems to be where we can move right through it. And even, I mean, I would say gather wisdom down there in the dark. I think there is stuff, there are insights there for us to find. And so even that notion is helpful, to just remember, I'm down here. I know it doesn't feel good, but there's value here. There's things to be discovered. And if I can just stay and accept where I am, I will come through and come out the other side, and hopefully with a little more wisdom.
I hear darkness calling my name, oh so sweetly, singing like rain. Do I want this sinking again? Please don't let me go down in vain.
That was my conversation with Mia Dyson. Her album Tender Heart is released on February 23rd.
Dragging me down, keeps spinning me out. I don't know I can stand. My own head keeps dragging me down, keeps spinning me out. I don't know I can stand if I can't trust my own hand. Trust my own hand.
That was Sound and Vision. Before you go, please subscribe to this podcast, rate it, and review it. Those little things go a long way. And Sound and Vision comes from KEXP, a publicly funded station. We rely on listener support to do what we do. You can give now to help financially support this show with a one-time $20 donation at kexp.org/sound. Thanks for listening.